Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best.
To me, the hardest job in sport is a head coach in professional sport. Some people said to me many years ago, coaching's overrated. I thought about that, and I totally disagree, because I think good coaches create the environment to win. We saw that with John Harbaugh and how he handles this. Could you imagine handling egos like Ray Lewis and just those star players who've been there for many years, and Ed Reed with the Ravens? So I want to tie that into Bob Hartley. How he's treating the Flames losing over the first 2 weeks of the season, I've been totally amazed on his positive, upbeat, say the right thing attitude. Maybe I've been calloused over the years in Calgary. When teams start losing, I hear coaches mumble into the camera and the microphone saying, "We've got to compete harder. We got to, the guys got to come to the rink better prepared." You don't see that. I see the coach motivating his players with at least an upbeat outlook.
It's true. I wonder what you said there. Yeah. You
yeah. No,
well.
No, no. You don't see that. I don't want to name names. You probably know who I'm talking about. I just like how Bob Hartley and how tough it must be for a guy like him. But the way he's treating a struggling start, I think is great.
Well, and for the most part, his team has competed pretty hard. So I think you have to probably, if you went in there and you started ripping guys in front of the media 6 games into a shortened season, you're probably not going to get the most out of a guy like these veterans.
That for a few years around here. We did see that.
It's easy to flick the switch off if I'm a player and I'm getting ripped after putting up 24 shots at a third period or something, and Hartley comes out. So you're right. I think, but that's the only, for me, that's the only way he can go right now. Like I don't think he would be pretty foolish to come in and start ripping guys right away. From what I've seen, I haven't been
totally
completely
agree, but you have
unimpressed.
seen it in hockey, and you've been around hockey long enough, where, especially in the Western Hockey League, junior coaches just, come on, guys. They get worried about their own job and their own securities, so they attack their own guys. So Hartley, I think, is doing the right thing. It'll be interesting, though, Brendan, if he can keep that going should the wins not come. That'll be interesting.
You know what else is kind of a finer point? That he's got this sort of option here where he's mixing guys in and out of the lineup. It seems like there's 3 or 4 guys on the back end. I mean, you had Sarich, Brody, Smith, and Butler all sort of rotating in. Do you think there's sort of an element to getting the most out of guys when they literally don't know if they're going to be in the lineup come the next game? I think there's...
I thought of that, and I think yes, but to me, to get the most out of those 3 is not important. Then maybe they should bench Jerome McGinley then and put Steve Bégin instead. Maybe they should bench Mike Camilleri. So yes, I agree with guys. Sit if you're not producing it. Maybe you'll be in the next game, but to just do it with Butler and those guys, I don't know if it's going to have that much of an effect. You want to mention something about Mike Camilleri going into this week on his play and how he looks before the road trip began. What did you see on Mike Camilleri when you watched?
When we think about Mike Camilleri, what do we think? He's a smaller guy with a great shot, but he also has a bit of a burst. I've always thought that the guy has a bit of a burst, but it seems like this year he's a bit heavy-footed to me. There doesn't seem to be separation between him. There's a couple of chances where he's had an opportunity for a partial break or to get off a quality shot, and guys are catching him so easily from behind, and I'm not sure what that is. If maybe, just the particular situation, but I thought Greg Zanin against Colorado made Mike Camilleri look slow. I don't know what it is, but it seems like he's got cement boots.
That's a good point, because when he was with the Flames about 4 or 5 years ago, and then with Montreal, he was like a water bug.
Yeah.
You could just see him, he was fluid in his motion. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're right.
And finding spots, because it's one thing to play with good playmakers, and he did this a little bit against Chicago, is finding those holes to set up and get that quick release off, which he did. He had a chance with Tanguay passing it to Colorado and Chicago, but for the most part, he just doesn't seem to be finding that right now.